Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Zero, and I am the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator here at Bywater Solutions. Thank you all for joining us today. I'd like to introduce the other team members that we have on the call here. We have Nate Karula, who is our owner and CRO at Bywater Solutions, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for your interest, and we're excited to show you some of the ins and outs of Koha. As you have questions, just let us know, and we'll be sure to get back to you right away.
Thank you, Nate. We also have Adam Brooks, who is Western Sales, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for participating today. It looks like we've got a lot of West Coast people, and I wanted to thank everybody for attending today.
Thanks, Adam. And then we also have Josh Barron, and Josh is our East Coast sales representative, and I'll let him go ahead and say hello.
Hello, everyone. Once again, thank you for joining today. Anyone that is on the East Coast, if you do have any questions after the fact, please, of course, don't hesitate to reach out to me. What I'll do is I'll put my email address in the chat, so if you do have any questions after the fact, I can definitely answer any questions for you.
Great. Thank you, Josh. Okay, so what we'll do today is we'll just give you a quick introduction of Bywater Solutions and the Koha community, and then we will go through and show you a brief overview of the Koha OPAC and the Koha staff client, and then we will leave some time open at the end for you to ask us any kind of questions, whether it regards to Koha or the migration process with Bywater Solutions and Koha. There is a Q&A section and a chat section. So again, if you have any questions, please ask that throughout the session. Nate, Adam, and Josh will be monitoring those. And then we will have a time again for Q&A at the end. Okay, so just a little bit about Bywater Solutions. We are a support company that provides support for open source products. So Koha is one of our products that we support. We have been a company since 2009, and during that period we have provided support for Koha, and as we've grown, we've provided support for other products like Aspen Discovery, LibKey, which is a kiosk management, Coral, which is an open source ERM, and Folio, which is an open source LSP. Bywatersolutions.com is our website, and from there you can find all different types of things. Under our education drop down, you'll see a whole slew of information in the system. You can find blog posts, videos. If you come over to projects, this will give you just a quick breakdown of everything that we support at Bywater Solutions, and then the About section. I always like to point out, if you're interested in who we are, you can kind of see a nice little breakdown. Check out our team members, and then there's also a list of library partners. So this is a great place to take a look. You can look by your geographic area, by zooming in on the map, or if you scroll down, you can actually go through and see some of the academic and public consortia, special libraries that we support. If you click on any one of these links, that will actually take you out to their OPAC, where you can go through and kind of look at some of the information for each one of those individual libraries. The services that we provide, we will go through the migration and implementation of one of the products, or Koha in this case. We provide training and ongoing education for your libraries, as well as custom developments. We will host your Koha system and then provide upgrades throughout the year for that Koha system. Koha does have 2 major releases in the community every year, one in the fall, one in the spring, and we will update that system for you and provide education for that particular release that's coming out. Okay, so we will jump right in. What you're looking at here is the Koha OPAC. The Koha OPAC is completely web-based and mobile responsive. It's built on Bootstrap. So if your users open it up on their mobile device, they'll be able to see the Koha OPAC, search for things. They can log into their account. They'll be able to see the checkouts or any type of holds that they have, any fines or fees. They can also go into their account history and see all of that information as well. The Koha OPAC is also completely customizable. So you can pull in the colors from your website and theme. You can pull in your logo, any type of images that you have. You can link out to your social media, put in some of your open hours. Of course, now at a time when some of us are probably most of us are closed for COVID-19, you can add banners that let your users know that you're closed. You can highlight different types of collections. So over here on the left-hand side, you'll see I have a drop-down menu that shows me just arrived. If I want to see the new DVDs that we have in our collection, I could select that DVD drop-down, and that will take me in and show me all the latest DVDs that I have available in my collection. Also on this front page, you'll see a few things here, what we refer to as a cover flow. This lets me highlight certain things in the collection. Right now I have the New York Times bestsellers listed. That kind of goes through a little collection where you can see different highlights of what new books we have. I have some picture books in here, some nonfiction, and then of course some staff picks. Now these lists can be generated in different types of ways. So right now I have mine built off lists. You can also have reports that automatically run, and those reports can grab the 20 most recent titles that have been added to your collection and things like that. So this is a nice way to highlight collections that you have in your system. Over here on the right-hand side, you'll see you can embed certain things. I have my Twitter feed that's pulling up. You can add different types of things there as well, like your Facebook or your Instagram. I've even seen Pinterest on some of our libraries. And I've seen some libraries even put in videos. So you have a nice way to kind of highlight certain things in your OPAC. So now let's talk about the search. Koha uses a Elasticsearch interface, which allows your user to come in. They can do a keyword search, or if I hit the drop down over here, they could switch into a title search, subject search, call number series. We also have integration with EDS, which is EBSCO's discovery platform, that also allows you to do a discovery search. So if I come in and just do a basic search here for, let's say, Gone Girl, this will allow me to do a search in the system and it'll bring back a list of results. Now, if we do have a multi-branch system, the user can select that from the drop-down. As I scroll through, you'll be able to see on the left-hand side, we could refine our search. That allows us to drill down our facets. If it's a specific item type, item types are like material types, and they're what drive circulation in your system. Locations, where that item physically lives in the library, collection codes, series, or again, holding location. If they know that they work near the North Branch and it's easy for them to pick it up on the way home, they can drill down by that particular branch. In the center here, you're going to see your brief results. This will tell me right away what the title is, the type of material, the publisher, and then I'll see the availability. Over on the left-hand side, we'll be able to see the image. Images can be pulled in from Syndetics or Content Cafe, but you can also use a free service that the community and Bywater Solutions uses, and that's called the Koshi server. That will look through your Amazon, Open Library, and Google Jackets. It'll look at the 020 field in your MARC record and then pull in an image from one of those three sources. So this is a free option that's available in Koha. Now from here, the user can place a hold. They can save it to a list. A list is a private way for them to add things to a list, whether they're working on a project or maybe it's books they want to read, they can create a list and add them there. or they can add them to a cart. A cart is a temporary place for them to add things. It will populate up top where they can temporarily add something into a cart, email it to themselves, download it, or of course print it off. Now, once the user has found the title that they're looking for, they can jump right in by clicking on the title, and it will take them into a detailed view of the record. The detailed view of the record will give them a little more information. You'll notice they can see a summary down below, subject headings. So if they want to search by one of those subject headings, they can drill down. And then down below, they can see a little more information. So the first tab will tell me what is available. And you can see right here, it tells me the main branch holdings. That is my home location. So it'll default to my home location first. You'll notice there's another tab next to it, and that will say other holdings. That will show me any other holdings that may be in the system at a different location. In this case, we can see this one is on hold. A few other things you can see, the title notes, comments. This is an option that you can turn on for your patrons. You can allow your users to leave reviews or comments on a particular title. Those comments and reviews have to be reviewed by your staff or librarians prior to them being visible on the OPAC. We have integration with Novelist Select. So if your library subscribes to Novelist, you'll be able to integrate so your user can see that information. They can look at similar titles, similar authors. As I scroll down, you can see a little more information like accelerated readers, any type of awards, and then of course some articles. So Novelist Select does integrate, and you can actually add Novelist Select wherever you want on the detailed view page. So, I have it showing in the tab here. Some libraries choose to put it up top, some choose to put it below. Again, that's totally up to you. There is another option, which is a free option in Koha, and that's to turn on book reviews from outside sources. So you can see New York Times, LA Times, and a few others here, which allow you to show those. So that's iDream Books, which is another free service that you can turn on in the system. I can click that place hold, and that will allow me to place a hold for an item. You'll notice that it brings the pickup location up. So again, if I'm closer to the West Branch, it will allow me to select the West Branch. When I'm coming home, I can confirm that hold, and then it will take me to my hold screen. From here, I can see any type of holds that I have in this. I have two, one for Max, one for Gone Girl. It will show me when those holds were placed, my pickup location. I can see the priority. So right now for my first one for Max, I can see that the item is waiting at the main branch for me to pick up. Down below, I can see Gone Girl. This will show me the title, when the hold was placed. I can see my priority. So that tells me there I am in the third in line to receive that, and it gives me a status of pending. That means that the hold has not been triggered or trapped by the librarian yet. From here, I can also suspend or cancel my hold in the system. We'll do another search here in the system. I'm just going to do a quick search for love and talk about some of the e-content integration that we have. We can integrate with Overdrive, Recorded Books, or Cloud Library. And what that does is that allows the user to essentially see titles for Overdrive or Recorded Books directly into the system. You'll notice I had two links on that previous page. And what that does is that will populate a list. So here I can see the titles for Overdrive, where I can see anything that I have checked out, or I do have options to check items out immediately. So as long as my user is authenticated or logged into the OPAC, they can easily check a book right out. So you'll see here, I have a title of I Love Grandma. I can click on that checkout. It gives me a little pop-up asking me if I'm sure I want to check this item out. I click OK, and that allows me to access that ebook directly on Overdrive. I can open it in Libby, or I can even check it in. So now if I go right into my account, you'll notice I have, again, items that I have checked out. I can see any type of fines or fees, the holds, and then I can click on overdrive. And this will actually show me all of the titles that I have checked out. So now your user can stay completely in the OPAC. They can see the print titles they have checked out. They can see the online versions that they have checked out. If they click on this link, it will take them right. They can begin to browse, or of course, go right into their Libby app and begin to look at it. Now, I can also check the item right in. So for example, if I click that check-in, it will ask me, are you sure you want to return this item? I can say okay, and it will check that item in. So this is a nice way for your users to stay right in one location. So overdrive and recorded books work very similarly. Cloud library, what that allows your user to do is they can actually limit by a particular item type. So cloud library results are inline, meaning they will show up right as I scroll through, so I can see those titles right away, and then I can check those titles right out from the Koha OPAC as well. So really nice integration. The Koha community is working on development with Hoopla. You'll be able to do that same process. So all four of providers for eCalable. Some other nice features of the Koha OPAC, there is an advanced search where your users can come in and do an advanced search in the system. Pulling in their Boolean connectors, they can come in and do multiple facet search. They can limit by item types, collection codes or shelving locations, or of course years. There is a course reserves module. So for any of our academic listeners out there, you can pull in the course name, the department, the section number, and then of course any type of instructors that we have available that are connected to that class. If I click on one of the courses, it will take me directly in to that course where I can see the title, the author, the status, and then of course link out to any online version of that title. For those of you who use authorities, there's a fully functioning authority module. So your users can come in, they can search for a particular term, and that will bring back a list of results where they can see the particular heading in the system. The details will show them the actual record, and then if they click on the biblio, that will take them out to if you decide to turn on your reviews in the system, this will allow you to see any type of comments or reviews that other users have given. So again, this is a nice option you can turn on or off. It does require that your staff members do moderate any of those reviews or comments that are visible on the OPAC. Another feature is the tags. Tagging allows your users, again, to essentially give their own subject headings to titles in the collection. You'll notice as things have more tags, the larger they will be. And so your users can search by those particular tag clouds. So for example, if I click on sewing, this will bring back a list of results in the system where I can see things that were tagged for sewing. Also have to be moderated by librarians before they're visible to the rest of your users on the OPAC. Finally, we do have a purchase suggestion form, and this allows your users to essentially come in and place a suggestion for a title in the system. So the red field will show anything that is required, and then they can fill out any other additional information and then submit that suggestion. Once they submit the suggestion, you'll be able to see any other purchase suggestions that have been made in the system. Let's talk a little bit about the user's account now in detail. The user can access their account in two different ways. You'll notice up top, I do have a link that says Sam Gamgee, so I can click on my name there, or I can click on it down below over here in my brief view. That will take me into my full view account. So here I can see items that are checked out. I can see any fines that I have. If I click on that fines, it will take me in and give me a complete view of any fines that are either accruing, any payments that I've made. If I've lost an item and I've had to pay the replacement price, I'll be able to see all of that information here. We do have integration with PayPal, so the user can come in, select the amount that they want to pay, and then make a payment through PayPal. You can see personal details here, and an option for your staff to turn on or off, of course, is you can allow users to update their information. So if they have a new email address or a new phone number, they can update that information and it will be sent over to the staff side of Koha, where staff can approve that update. You can turn on the option for users to update their password in the system. They can see things like reading history. Now, again, this is an option you can turn on and off. Some libraries anonymize reading history, and what that means is it will anonymize the user's name, but it will still retain the checkout history. Another option is to retain it. So this will see, let the user see what they have checked out in the past. Of course, they can order it by title, by date, or by author. And then a third option is you can allow your users to select their type of privacy. So they can come in and say, keep it forever. I never want to keep my history, which would delete my reading history immediately, or I can keep the default. The default would be what the library has chosen. You know, sometimes libraries will keep it for a year, like a rolling year in the system, and so on. So again, that's up to you. You can set your policy to be, keep it forever, automatically delete it, or give your patrons the option to choose it. There is a messaging tab. This will show your users any proactive messaging that they will get in the system. So here they can see things like item due reminders, advance notice of an item being due, when a hold is ready to be picked up, and then of course when they return something or when they check something out from the library. Koha can send emails, Koha can send text messages, of course you can print things, and then we do have integration with an automatic phone service. If you have a subscription with Talking Tech, Itiva, you can set up automated phone calling that will go out for your users as well. So multiple ways to get messaging out to your users. The list feature that we talked about, this is where your users can see any type of private lists that they have created, and of course public lists. Those public lists are curated by your staff. So again, those were the ones we were talking about in the beginning, New York Times bestsellers, staff picks, and this will give your users a nice breakdown where they can see information that are curated for those particular titles. Again, they can email it to themselves, they can download it, they can print it, whatever they want to do. If they find something here that they want to read, they can click on place a hold, and then it will of course take them right in where they can place a hold for that particular title. Okay, now that we've talked a little bit about the Koha OPAC, we'll jump over to the staff side where we will talk about a little more information about the staff client. So what you're seeing here is the Koha staff client. It is completely web-based, and what that means is you do not need a client downloaded on all of your users' computers, as long as they have access to a browser like Chrome or Mozilla or Safari. Your patrons, your staff, can log into the system and do their daily functions. Now, what you're looking at here is a super librarian permission, and what that means is I have access to all of the modules in the system. Now, Koha is based on permissions, and what that means is I can have a user that may only have access to, let's say, circulation, and perhaps patrons, maybe advanced search. So you can customize your staff's views on the Koha staff client dependent on what their workflow is. You'll see up here at the top, we have a static bar. This allows your staff members to easily jump into circulation or patrons. We have a search option, which allows me to do an advanced search or an item search. And this is a great way for staff to come in. They can drill down what they're looking for by location or shelving location, a specific item type that they may be looking for, a collection code if they want to drill down by, let's say, fiction. And then one of my favorite aspects of using the item search is you can drill down by a status. So if I'm just looking for things that may be on order, I can drill down and look for those as well. You can even do it for a particular call number range, and then export it to a file. So lots of options when you're running those searches. Your More drop-down menu will show you other modules that you have access to in the system. So again, you'll see multiple ways to get into things. Because it's web-based, you can actually right-click open and then open that in a new tab. So that way you can have multiple tabs open. A lot of times when I'm cataloging or adding items in, what I'll do is I'll open the cataloging module in another tab, and you can go right back and forth between those modules. Back to our main screen, over on the right-hand side, you'll see a help button. That help button will take you directly into the Koha manual. So the manual is upgraded every time your system is upgraded, so you'll always have access to the most recent manual in Koha. You can search, or you can drill down for what you're looking for directly in the manual. It'll give you screenshots and step-by-step instructions. The nice thing about this is dependent on where you are in the system. So if I'm in the patrons module and I click on the help button, it will take you right to the patrons module in the Koha manual. So now you'll see it walks me through adding a new patron. I have step-by-step and screenshots, so I know exactly what to do. And this is a really nice feature, especially if you're in a module that you may not use all the time and you need a little walk through. That help button will follow you no matter where you are. Next to that help button, you'll see a drop down. That drop down will allow me to essentially log out of the staff client. I can jump right into my account. Over here on the left-hand side, you can highlight certain things like news or a calendar or links that go out to things that you may order from or other things on your website. So that's completely customizable. Now let's talk about our search box up top. The search box allows us to essentially check things out to our users directly from this screen. So I don't even have to go into the circulation module. I can begin that process right away. So if a patron walks up, they have their card, or you know them by name, you can begin that process by essentially typing it in, scanning a barcode, and that will take you right into your user's account. On the left-hand side, you'll be able to see all the pertinent information about your user, their image, their contact information, their category, their home library. Images are optional, of course. You can turn those on and off. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see any pertinent information about fines and fees, if they have any holds that are awaiting pickup, any type of messages that a staff member may have left about them. So you can see here, Tina left her Nalgene bottle at the circulation desk, and you can see that Missy Potter is the librarian who left that announcement there. To begin the checkout process, the librarians just need to scan the item in. You can specify things such as due date. Koha has certain features like automatic renewals that allow you to essentially renew something if there is no holds on that particular item, and the automatic renewal allows for it in their circulation rules. And there's also an on-site checkout feature. This is great for if your library circulates lab laptops or charging cables within the library, so you can keep a statistic on those. If I scroll down below, you can see any checkouts that you have in the system. So I can see this user has 2 items that are checked out to her. You can see the item type, the location, the home library, any type of call number information. And then all the way on the right-hand side, we can see information about renewing the item for the user, checking it in, or exporting a list for the user. The holds tab will show me any hold that this individual has in the system. So right now I can see that they have a hold on the boy from the woods. I can see any type of restrictions that this user may have. Restrictions can be manual, or they can be based on overdues that they have in the system. If I scroll down a little bit, some of the things you can see in their account, their details tab will show you contact information. You can see their messaging preferences, and then of course library use, where I can see their card number, expiration date. Koha has the availability to connect guarantees and guarantors. So if you use the adult-child connection, you can see that information in the system. Your accounting tab will show you information about any type of fines or fees that this user has. The transactions tab will give me a full history of any type of payments that this user made, anything that they had for fines or fees. If they lost an item, you can scroll down and see like this item was lost and she was charged $4.99, and then you can see that payment above, whether it was cash or check or payment. You can see all of that information. You can absolutely print receipts for your users, and this will populate a little receipt that you can print off. You can void payments. So for example, if the check bounced, you can come in and void it. You can also view the details of any transaction, and you'll notice it will also show you the transacting librarian who made the void or received the payment. So you can see all of that information. Right now it's showing me transacting librarian number 47. Each individual in the system has their own unique number. So I can see that information in the system. Also within your accounting tab, you can create manual invoices. So if you collect money for, let's say, sometimes little thumb drives, or one of our libraries does bus passes, you can set those up where you can apply those directly to the user's account, and then create a manual invoice for them. Koha also does have the option for manual credits, again, but that's totally up to you if you want to use those or not. Some of the other things that you'll see in your user's account, circulation history. Again, this is dependent on your policies. If you anonymize, of course, you wouldn't see this. If you keep it, you have the option to turn it on for staff to see it, and that goes along with holds history. So this will show you the holds history for your patron. So if it's a pending status or a canceled status or fulfilled, you'd be able to see that history here as well. Notices, this will show you any type of notice that was sent out to your user. Here you can see I received both emails and SMS. The status will tell you if it's sent, pending, or failed. And then of course you can also see the timestamp on the right hand side. If the item does fail, you have the option to resend it. If I click on the note, you can actually see what was physically emailed to that user. So you can see here my option to resend. If the user says, hey, I never received that, you can resend it to them. Purchase suggestions also file in to the user account on the staff client. So you can keep track of anything that they have suggested. So right now I can see that Tina does have one requested item in here. If I click on that, that actually takes me into the suggestion. Suggestions tie into your acquisitions module. So if you use the acquisitions module, you can take it through that whole cycle of the book. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the patrons module. Your patrons module allows you to filter through where you can search for patrons in the system. You can browse by last name, and you can even do an advanced search. So if I'm looking by, let's say, email, I can type in that email and look for an individual. When I'm creating a new patron, I'll have a drop down which will show my patron categories for my library. Once I select a patron category that I'm looking for, that will take me in where I can create my patron in the account. Anything that's in red again will be a required field, and then I can go in and set up my user's account. Now that we talked a little bit about circulation and patrons, let's quickly talk about that course reserves module. So for any of our academic listeners out there, this is where you would set up a course on the back end. There's only 3 fields that are required. Once you have that information filled in and your course is created, you can then add items into the system. So you'll notice it hyperlinks to my instructor in the system. And then of course I can add reserves one by one by scanning a barcode, or I can do them in batch where I can actually scan in multiple barcodes, and then I have the option to temporarily change the location. I may move them to the reserves shelf behind the circulation desk, or somewhere else in the system. Course reserves also works with fast add. So if a professor or faculty member has given you an item from their personal collection, you can easily add that information in. Now let's talk about technical services. Koha has a fully functioning cataloging module. You can connect to OCLC Connection, Sky River. We have a built-in Z3950, which allows your user to come in and go through and search for a particular title in the system. And this would allow me to go through, I can add the title, I can search for different targets. Again, if you're an OCLC subscriber, you can add your target there. You can customize the list of targets in the system. So this will allow me to go through and look for any results that come back that match my search in the system. You'll see I have Library of Congress, OhioLink, and San Francisco Public Library selected. So once I find the title that I'm looking for, there is an actions button over on the right-hand side that will allow me to preview the mark. I can see a card preview, which is the ISBD preview. And then the last option is to import that record. Once I select import, that will bring a copy of the record into my collection. So here I can see things like starting with 0. This will give me my leader all the way through any of my local call numbers. And then as I go through, of course, I can see my 100s, 200s, 300s, and so on. This is the basic editor. The basic editor is very detailed. You can see your fields, your subfields, your tags. If I click on the little question mark, that'll take me out to the Library of Congress where I can see what indicators I need, my subfield codes. I can easily delete fields from this link. You know, a good example here is you have tag editors. So like when I'm adjusting my leader, I have drop-down menus, so I don't need to know, you know, the exact location when I'm updating that. In Koha are 900 fields. The 942s are what symbolize our Koha item types. You can suppress records from the OPAC in this view as well. Now, Koha also has an advanced editor. The advanced editor is completely keyboard driven. So this allows you to essentially use keyboard shortcuts. So you can see like Control D would insert a delimiter, tabbing through would move me to the next position. I also have settings where I can switch between different frameworks. Think of frameworks like templates. Your cataloging staff and administrators can set up which fields are required, mandatory, visible, hidden, which ones have default values in, and then you can create those different frameworks for different types of material that you're cataloging. Also within the advanced cataloging editor, you can change your font and your font type. And so this is by cataloger. You can also create macros. Macros are like text strings. So if I was adding in my RDA, I could create my 336, my 337, and my 338 fields, and then have those automatically applied to my record. The Koha Advanced Editor also has a Z3950 server that's built in. It works very similar, and it also can search your local catalog. That way, if you're looking for duplicates, you can see that information in the system. It also does have the option to pull in the Library of Congress search, so I can look and see again which fields that I need to identify. Now that we looked at the cataloging editor, let's talk about cataloging searching. So if I'm looking for a particular title that I want to make, let's say, edits to, or I knew I had an on order, or I was replacing a lost item, this would bring in a list of results. So here you can see it gives me a list where I can view that information. Over on the right-hand side, I can do a quick preview of the mark. I can come in and, again, do that ISBD view. And then I can directly come in and edit the item or add and edit items to that record in the system. So what this does is this brings me into the item view of the record, so I can go through and look at that information. Once I hit that normal button, that will take me in where I can look at a normal view of the record, and then that will allow me to view that record, and then down below I can see the holdings table. The holdings table will show me where that item is, its location, its call number, and its status. I also have a descriptions tab, which will bring in any information from those 500 fields. If I use the acquisitions module, it will bring in acquisitions details, the vendor I've purchased it from, the invoice, and then of course I have the option to upload any images. In our cataloged view of the record, I can also view items directly. This is where your circulation staff would come in. They'd be able to update any type of loss status, damage status, or withdrawn status. If they need to quick add a public note in there, they can do that as well. Users can also come in and place holds. So if, let's say I had a patron come up and they wanted to place a hold for a particular title, I can come in here, I can search for that patron's name, bring it up, and I can actually place a hold for that patron on the back end. This is where I could see that information. If I had multiple people on hold for this particular title, I could move those individuals up and down. So if I wanted to move Kyle up in the list before Rick, I could absolutely do that. I could also change the pickup location for the patron if they called on the phone and asked. And then of course I could also cancel that subscription for the user. For any administrators out there, you do have a modification log, which will show you when that particular title was created and then any time that it's been updated, so the mark or the item. Koha has several tools that tie into cataloging, such as batch deleting or batch modifying items. It has a fully functioning inventory tool, and then of course my options to upload records into the system. So if you get records from OCLC or Ingram or Brodart or Gobi, you can bring those records into the Koha system in bulk and then add them into the system. Koha has a serials module that allows you to keep track of current subscriptions in your system with a fully receiving process. It will show me any type of prediction or frequency that I have set up. I can mark things late or expected, and then it also has a full claims module. So if I want to place a claim for something that was not received, I can do that right through the Koha system. Koha has a fully functioning acquisitions module. The acquisitions module allows me to do three major functions. The first would be the acquisitions module, where I can create that budget, give it a fiscal year amount, and then apply funds. So I can see the fund code. Fund codes can be alpha or numeric, and then I can see anything that's been ordered or spent in the system. If I click on that ordered, it will show me anything that's out for order in the system. I could see the vendor and the unique order number for that particular title. I can also click on what's been spent, and that will give me a quick view of things that I've spent in the system. The second function of acquisitions is your vendor management. This will allow me to see any type of information about my vendor, details. Over on the right-hand side, I can see my vendor specialists, and then of course my ordering information. The third step with acquisitions is, of course, your ordering. You can order items through EDI or edifact ordering with your vendors, whether it's Baker & Taylor, Brodart, Ingram, Playaway, Midwest Tapes. There's several that Koha works with. You can bring those orders into the Koha system and process them. For non-EDI, of course, you can go through that whole receiving process where you bring items into the system. The nice thing about the acquisitions module is you can actually show items in the system that are on order, and if you want, your users can actually place holds on items that are on order. So there's a lot of nice features that the acquisitions module can show for your users. Your reports module. The reports module in Koha allows you to pull any type of statistic out of the system. Any report that's created in the system is saved in your saved reports library. So you can see here, I have some different accounts: acquisitions, cataloging, circulation, collection development. What this allows me to do is I can come in here and run that report at any time, select the type of report that I want to run, and that will bring back the list of results in my system. I can download my, report at any time as a CSV, a text, or an open document spreadsheet. I can even create a chart for that particular report. Reports can be scheduled to run daily, weekly, or monthly, and those can be sent off to your users. And then, of course, there are some built-in reports, such as orders by fund, where I can come in and look at a particular fund, or, of course, lost items. Finally, Koha's administration module. This is where you will set up all of your administration for Koha. So your global system preferences are essentially where you can go in and essentially say, this is the type of transaction I want to block from happening in the system. Under enhanced content, this is where I would set up things for like my overdrive or Baker & Taylor services. The OPAC is where I would customize how things look in the system. And then, of course, tools is where I would control certain things like importing and exporting things out of the system. Finally, in our Koha administration, this is where you would set up things like your branches, your item types. Again, item types is what drives your circulation. So here you can see things like book, DVDs, ILLs, things like that. Administration is where you would also set up your patron categories, and of course your circulation and fine rules. Circulation and fine rules can be broken down by location if you're a multi-branch system. In your administration, you also have your cataloging admin, so where you would set up those frameworks or templates that we've talked about, matching rules, classification sources. And as I scroll down a little bit, you'll see additional parameters. That'll be things like your Z3950 server, setting up your text message or your SMS cellular providers, and essentially creating keyboard shortcuts. So during the process of your migration, your data migration specialist and your educators will work with you to set up your administration in the system. I am going to pause for a couple minutes. We just went through a lot of information in the Koha system as just a general overview, and I want to leave some time to open up for questions that we have. So one that I see here is what is clubs? So in your tools module, we talked a little bit about those cataloging tools, but you also have patrons and circulation tools. This is where you'll see things like customizing notices and slips, patron lists, but we also have patron clubs. This is a way for you to track certain clubs that you have in your library. So the one example I have in here is summer reading. This allows you to track individuals that you have for summer reading. I've seen people do like knitting clubs. Koha has a patron emailer, so you can email all the members of your clubs. It has several tables in the Koha schema or structure, so you can pull all types of reports about the people in your club. So it's a nice way to track that information. How does offline circ generally work for those of you with outages at times? Go into circulation. We have a couple different ways that you can do it. The first is a desktop application, and this is the one we generally recommend that our libraries use. What this does is this is a desktop application that you can install on your circulation machine. So, you know, if you have 5 or 6 circulation desks, you can add those to each one. And this allows your staff members to check out and check in when your system is down. Once your system comes back up, you'll essentially download a KOC file, Koha Offline Circulation. And then you would come back into the system once you're back up, click on this Upload Offline Circulation file, and then you'll upload that KOC file, and Koha will give you essentially a report. And that table will include who the items were checked out to, and then you can see any that may have been, let's say, an error or an individual who had a finer fee, so you can follow up. So you can absolutely still check out. There are other options. Firefox has an add-on which you can use if you use the Firefox browser. And then you can also use essentially this page, save it as an HTML5 file, and then access it that way. But we generally recommend the desktop application as a good way. Absolutely. Okay, so now on the Q&A, I can see that, can you show the authority functionality in the staff client? Absolutely. So the authorities module allows you to essentially create new authorities or search for authorities in the system. Through the tools module, if you bring in authorities, you know, a lot of times people will use like Backstage or LTI or Marchive. You can bulk import MARC records, or I can search for existing records that I have in the system. So this will bring back all of my authorities. I can see the records they're used in. I can see the details that would show me the record itself. I can edit that authority. I can replace it via Z3950. That will go out to Library of Congress name or subject. If I come back to this view, I can also merge authorities. So if you found a duplicate, you can merge authorities in the system. You can create new authorities, again, via Z39 or from scratch. So, you know, if you have one that you want to create for a local author, you can absolutely go through and create those. So lots of functionality within authorities. Okay, our next question. Where does the image loaded in the catalog display in the OPAC? So it will display right where that cover image was. So if I go back here and we just pull up a quick record, once you upload that image, it will appear directly in that record. So, you know, a lot of times I'll see this if you have like old yearbooks or again, something that's local and you take an image of it, the image will appear both down below and then up over here on the right-hand side. And then I'm just going to use this button here from the record, open in new window. And then you'll also see it in the OPAC on the left-hand side. It will populate over here. Okay, next question. Does the program allow for other languages, French and French diacritics in the catalog? Absolutely. So if you'll see right now, down at the bottom left-hand side, I have one for English and then one for Espanol. Koha is translated, I think, into almost 81 different languages. If you go to kohacommunity.org, you can see all of the language that it's translated into, and you can install what Koha refers to as a language pack. So that's all controlled in your administration, and I'll just show you that real quickly. You can select which language you want to use, and that'll be for the OPAC or the staff client. And then you can even translate notices that go out to your patrons depending on what packs you have in the system. So you can set a preferred language for your patrons, which is really nice. Can we get more information about the Koha discovery? Absolutely. We're actually doing another session tomorrow. It's tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern. It's called Aspen Discovery. And Aspen Discovery is a open source product that ties into Koha as well as other ILSs, but this integrates your catalog, so your print, your e-content. It can crawl your website and then bring all of that information into one location. And again, we'll be doing one just on Aspen Discovery tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time if you're interested. Okay, another question. Does Koha have volume control feature that allows patrons to place holds on volume level if there are multiple volumes under one bib and multiple copies under one volume? Yes, it does. So the first thing I'll show you is in your circulation and fine rules, that's where you'll define it. If we come all the way over to the end, this is where the first thing you'll say is the number of holds that are allowed. And then the next thing will be the holds per record. So this will say, if I have, let's say, a 20 volume set, and it allows me to go in and place a hold on, X amount of titles in there. A lot of people use it for like multi-volume sets or like summer reading, like book clubs. You can go in and set that, or for teachers. The nice thing about the circ rules too is you can set it by patron category and by item type. So for example, those book clubs, or like if you allow teachers to place holds on multiple copies, you can absolutely do that. How do the featured lists of titles presented in the OPAC generate? Okay, yeah. So right now I have the cover flow is driven off of lists. So in the staff client, in the list module, I have one that's called public list. So there's a couple different ways to do it. So if I come into the one that I've created for fiction, I can add items here by barcodes or biblio number, or I can do a search in the catalog. And what that'll do is when it brings back a list of results, I can actually come in here, I can check it, and then I can say add to list, and I can add it this way. Or if I want to select multiple ones and then add them in, I can absolutely do that as well. And what that'll do is it'll say, I want to add those two in there, hit save, and then it's updated. And so this is a plugin. It's called the Cover Flow plugin, and then it populates this list based on the list in the system. And you can make these whatever you want. I just happen to have mine as New York Times bestsellers, pictures, nonfiction, staff picks. It could be whatever you want. I'm going to show off one of our libraries that I know does a really nice job. They have, multiple ones in here. There we go. So you can see they do a couple different ones, and there's all different variations of it. So you can see they have theirs automatically scrolling through. So like they have one for adult fiction, nonfiction, teen books, children's books, audio books, so it's really nice. You can essentially customize this however you want. We have an individual on staff. His name is Lucas, and he works with you to essentially set your OPAC up. It's part of the migration process. And he'll work with you to set the cover flow up in the system. Well, I'll just say, we hit just, very small aspects of Koha. And if you're interested in seeing, a longer demo where we focus on like technical services or, circ and patrons, or just a more detailed level of Koha, we'd be happy to do that. Josh or Adam can absolutely walk you through that. Oh, and I see we have some more questions that have come in. So the first one is, can patrons apply for a library card through the PAC? Yes, absolutely. I'll log out and show you what that looks like. So there's a feature in Koha called self-registration that you can turn on. So you'll see right over here on the right-hand side over log into your account, it'll say don't have an account, register here. And if the user clicks on that, they can come through, again, fill out the required fields. and then hit submit down below. There's all types of system preferences that tie into this process that you can set up. If you want your users to be sent an email dependent on like the search, let me rephrase that. If they want to essentially get an email to verify their account before they have access, you can do that. So you can look at the email, you can have it essentially, require them to do that. And then you could set which fields are required, which fields aren't required, and things like that. So yeah, absolutely. You could do self-registration. There's all types of things that tie in. In fact, we have a lot of libraries right now that are using self-registration for, patrons that might not have an account during, the temporary library closures, so they can go in and still have access to online resources. Okay, next question. Can the featured list generated by a canned search? So Koha does have an RSS feature. So what that will allow me to do is if I do a search for, let's say, love here, I can create an RSS feed based on it. So you can see there's a little orange button here, and I could subscribe to that search. And then what that will do is it will allow me to essentially do it. Now you can also essentially create like a list for the same thing, but that has to be updated manually. Another question, can a patron barcode and PIN assigned to the patron at online registration? Yes, it can be. And again, that's an option in your system preferences. So you can have it applied automatically, or you can give them the option to create it themselves. Most go for, it can be applied automatically. That way they have a screen and it says, here's your username, here's your PIN. Okay. Well, I thank you all for joining us today. And if you'd like to see an in-depth demo, please contact either Adam or Josh, or you can just email sales@bywatersolutions.com, and we'll be able to get you a little more information about the service. Thank you all so much for attending today. We will send you a link to the recording. So if you had any staff members that couldn't make it, we'd be able to share that with you. Thank you so much.